Hi everyone, today we're going to be reviewing these two phones from Microsoft, so for more information just keep watching. Thank you! Here we have the Microsoft Lumia 640 XL and the Lumia 535. These two phones are very similar devices, but when wondering which Windows phone is right for you, whether you use it to run a business or just to manage social media, this comparison will help you decide. On the right we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 400 Lumia 640 XL with a 5.7-inch 720p HD display, running a quad-core processor at 1.2 GHz with 8GB storage and 1GB RAM. Whereas on the left we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 200 Lumia 535 with a 5-inch 540 by 960p LCD display, running a quad-core processor at 1.2 GHz with also 8GB of storage and 1GB of RAM. The two phones both come with interchangeable backs that come in a variety of colours. There's white, black, neon green and neon orange, with a matte or glossy version. The design is very similar in both, however the 640 XL is much bigger as the name suggests, and it has a glossy shell which I'm not a fan of due to how slippy it feels in pockets and in your hands as opposed to the matte finish of the 535. However, this is easily fixed by putting a case on it that you can get for as low as £1. They both use a micro USB charging port and have easy access to the volume controls and the lock button. The headphone jack is found on the top of both devices, and on the back there's the camera, flash, speaker grille and the Microsoft branding. The 640 XL has a noticeably brighter display. As you can see, it's a clear winner when it comes to brightness and contrast of colours. I felt that the 535's colours were a bit washed out and dimmed down, whereas the 640's are enhanced and are very impressive. It also seems much more responsive to the touch than the 535. Here's an example of them in use in direct sunlight. As you can see, the 640 XL is pretty much usable in the sunlight just as well as in the dark, which is very rare for a glossy phone like this, in contrast to the 535 where it's so dull that you can't really see anything in the light. So the 640 definitely wins as far as brightness and colours go. They are both still reflective due to their glossy display, but that's to be expected. Although the 640 weighs a bit more at 171 grams as opposed to the 535 at 146 grams, it's due to the bigger size and bigger battery. Both weights are perfectly ideal as they're not too heavy and not too light all at the same time, so it has a perfect balance. Whereas the size, it all comes down to personal preference. As I have quite small hands, I'm more used to smaller phones. However, when viewing videos and pictures on bigger phones, I'm always impressed, and the display always seems much better on a bigger sized phone. Here I'm showing the higher end Nokia Lumia 930 as a size comparison, which is also another fantastic Windows phone option. The 5-megapixel camera on the 535 isn't as bad as I was expecting. It certainly gets the job done and can take pretty decent pictures. However, the 13-megapixel camera on the 640 XL definitely gives more crisp and clean results. I've shown footage of the pictures taken with each phone on auto mode, so obviously the exposures and contrast will change with lighting conditions. I feel like this was the only way to give the fairest comparison. The only obvious difference that I found was the depth of field and the colours. Here we see that the 640 picked up not just the main subject of the photo but everything surrounding it too in a really crisp way with a really nice contrast. Whereas the 535 seemed to dull the photos down and looks as if the contrast has been turned down. The colours on the 640 also seem to pop a lot more than on the 535. But if this is something that you feel is important in a phone, then you can easily edit these images on any editing apps that are available on Windows App Store. However, if a camera is not something that you value as particularly necessary on a phone, then the 535 certainly does a perfectly good job. As far as software goes, they're both very similar and both fantastic in that way. The only downside in my experience with Windows Phone is the lack of apps. But if you only use the main apps, they have Windows versions of them all, which will suit you just fine, so that wouldn't be a problem. Having said that, I feel like the main target audience for these phones would either be the older generations that may need a fantastic budget phone, not need access to that many apps, or a business user who may just need the phone for Office 365 services. You can get the 535 currently at around £50 up front, whereas the 640XL at around £150 up front. So the difference between the phones is clear, and my verdict is, you get what you pay for. These phones are fantastic for the right user, whether you want to spend an extra £100 for the increased quality of the 640XL, or are simply happy enough with the 535, which is the ultimate budget Windows phone. That's all for now, and thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe if you enjoy and check out our social media.